Well, hey there, it's December 9th, Tuesday. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon, West Coast time. And I have been wandering over on TikTok, which is a first for me. That's something that I have completely avoided. But recently, there's been some things that have sparked my curiosity. So I wandered over there to see what's been going on. It's a little wild over there, I must say. It's pretty wild. Entertaining, a lot of what the fuck is going on over there. Yeah, it's wild. So anywho, I found this gal over there last night. Audrey Henson is a creator over there, and she does the Dre dossier. Wonderful. Oh, she's wonderful. So spreadsheets, the whole thing. She goes deep, and she has a whole thing that's set up. You can go and check her work, and she's got spreadsheets. Like, oh my goodness, she definitely feeds my OCD. So she was talking about the Netflix Paramount acquisition. There's been a buzz in the news, and there's been some creators that have been kind of talking about it. I have not been really paying that much attention because I don't really watch a lot of movies, and I haven't had cable since 2006, so I could really kind of care less about a lot of that stuff. However, when something starts to percolate up, I'll start paying attention to it, and I'm like, okay, this gal seems interesting. Let's see what she has to say. And oh my gosh. So I listened to what she had to say, and I was going to go ahead and talk about this on my own channel a little bit and kind of share what she had come up with. And I go and I wander over to YouTube, and I, we all have our favorite creators over here. And one of my favorite creators is Hawk. So I like to listen to Hawk in the morning while I'm having my coffee. And he was talking about it. So I'm listening to what he has to say. And he had a few things that he shared that she didn't, and vice versa. So I think it's important to put both of these together, because this interweaving of shit that's going on, we all need to be really aware of this and all aspects of it. So I'm just going to do just a quick, just to kind of get us all up to speed. Netflix has been trying to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery has HBO, HBO Max, that sort of thing, and a bunch of other like little things underneath it. So, and they've been trying to acquire that for about $83 billion. Well, Paramount, who was bought by Skydance last year, wants it. And so they've been trying to nudge their way in over the past few months, and they have been pushing for a hostile takeover. And so they came up with an offer of $108 billion, trying to push Netflix out. Well, here's where things start getting a little bit interesting, a lot interesting. So we're thinking movies, Hollywood, some news channels, sports channels, that kind of stuff. Just further consolidation of corporates making monopolies worse, right? Okay, nothing new there. However, let's learn a little bit more about what these guys have found in their wanderings and where Jared Kushner comes into play. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, we have Deutsche Bank that comes into play with this, David and Larry Ellison, we have Ted and Ted Sarandos, and Trump. Why? Let's talk about how the midterms come into play, and gerrymandering and kingmaking. It's all here. Let's see what they have to say.
Netflix was buying Warner Brothers for $83 billion total. A lot of people thought that Paramount was going to launch, or Paramount was going to make a better offer. Paramount that was recently bought by Skydance, a company that is owned and controlled by CEO David Ellison, whose dad is Larry Ellison, the CEO and founder of Oracle. who's worth $200 or $300 billion. So today, Monday, December 8th, Paramount launched a hostile takeover bid for all of Warner Brothers, the company, and all of their property and assets. I think it's like $10 or $20 billion more than what Netflix offered. And, Warner Brothers Discovery, he put out a statement, and there's a punchline for this one. Stick around for a minute. So he put out a statement saying, Warner Brothers shareholders deserve an opportunity to consider our superior all-cash offer for all of their shares in the entire company. Our public offer, which is on the same terms we provided to Warner Brothers board in private, provides superior value and a more certain and quicker path to completion, yada, yada, yada. And so then we learned something else. Hang on. So now we are learning that Paramount Skydance's $108 billion hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery includes billions and billions and billions of dollars in funding from sources in the Middle East and Jared Kushner's private equity firm. The Hollywood Reporter reports the following. A filing confirms that Paramount's tender offer is also supported by $24 billion in debt financing from sovereign wealth funds in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi, as well as from Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners, which manages $3 billion plus that he got from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and other Middle Eastern countries. Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners was not mentioned in Paramount's press release on Monday morning about its $108 billion bid, nor were participating sovereign wealth funds from Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. Yeah, David Ellison just left that part out. Kushner's inclusion in Paramount Skydance's offer comes after Netflix boss Ted Sarandos met privately with President Trump, according to the New York Post and Bloomberg. Sarandos, if I'm saying that correctly, was making a case for why Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers would not be an antitrust violation. Trump on Sunday praised Sarandos as a shrewd businessman, but also said Netflix's bid for Warner Brothers, quote, could be a problem. He's a fucking mafia boss. David Ellison's father, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, is also a big supporter of President Trump, and they are buddies.
Now let's see what the Dre dossier dug up, because she's got some stuff.
So we all know that Netflix won the bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery. The Ellisons of Paramount Pictures lost. Sad trombone, moving on. Except for this one little thing that was making it hard for me to move on. On December 4th, the day before Netflix was announced officially as the winner, I got this Google alert that said that Larry Ellison had regained his throne as the second richest person in the world, surpassing Larry Page. Oh, what, you mean to tell me you don't have Google alerts set up for Larry Ellison? Well, maybe you should. And look, anytime Larry Ellison makes a lot of money, I'm suspicious, but that timing in particular felt weird for me because his net worth went up, $5.2 billion in a single day, and he jumps to the second richest person in the world, and then the next day, his family loses this Warner Brothers bid. Mind you, to Netflix, whose bid was already lower than theirs. So I started digging, and that stock bump apparently came from Deutsche Bank on December 1st, which basically a big bank tells all of the investors that Oracle's a buy, and then the stock goes up, and then Ellison's net worth goes up incredibly because almost all of his wealth is in Oracle stock. But here's what doesn't quite add up. Oracle has been sluggish for months, which is why Larry Ellison dropped from the second richest person position. There have been no earnings surprises that week, no major contracts announced, nothing that should make a bank suddenly declare that Oracle is the buy of the century. Yet Deutsche Bank decided to make that call, and they decided to make it on December 1st, the exact day that the final bids were due for the Warner Brothers Discovery auction. So a December 1st upgrade for Oracle would land on Ellison's net worth by around December 4th, right on time. Well, not right on time if it was meant to help with the Warner Brothers Discovery bid, because that was already submitted the day that that stock upgrade happened. So what would that boost help? Well, that's where this Delaware filing comes into play, okay? Because I've been tracking Larry Ellison for quite some time now, right? And I watched the Paramount Skydance merger very, very closely last year. And yes, I even made a spreadsheet of all of their special purpose vehicles. Don't judge me. When the Ellisons bought Paramount Pictures, they used a lot of different special purpose vehicle holding companies, but 3 main ones, which were all filed on the same day, which were called Pinnacle Media Ventures 1, 2, and 3, filed on June 28th, 2024. And then 9 days later, the deal was announced. And the reason they need all 3 companies is because they're buying a really big company, Paramount Pictures. They need all of these different investor buckets in order to compensate for all of it. So I was thinking to myself, well, if I want to find out if they're trying to actually buy Warner Brothers Discovery, then maybe they would file paperwork in the same structure, right? I mean, same pattern, maybe same naming convention. If you want to understand truly how these billionaires move, you don't listen to what they say, you watch what they file. So I go to the Delaware database and I type in Pinnacle Media Ventures LLC. Hit enter, and what do you know? There it is, Pinnacle Media Ventures 4, and you'll never guess when it was filed for. That's right, December 1st, 2025. Same day as the bid deadline, same day as the Oracle upgrade. But notably, they only filed 1, not 3. They didn't file 4, 5, and 6, just a single holding company. There's this contradiction happening here because filing an acquisition vehicle means that you're confident you're about to buy something, like soon. But pumping your stock price on the same day only makes sense if you think you're about to lose and you want to look strong on the same day that you lose. Or maybe you need that boost to finance a purchase, a different purchase, the real purchase. But that brings us back to this Pinnacle Media Ventures 4 that was filed, because if this was like the pattern in which they bought Paramount Pictures, then wouldn't they need multiple Pinnacle Media Ventures if they were going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery and all of its parts? Maybe your plan is to only buy one piece of Warner Brothers Discovery. Which brings me to what Netflix is not buying. Netflix is not buying the cable networks. The deal requires Warner Brothers Discovery to spin off CNN, TNT, TBS, and all of the Discovery networks into a separate company called Discovery Global. And it will become its own publicly traded company available for someone else to buy. Which, to be fair, that was always kind of the plan. So why not wait for that to happen in April of 2026 like it was supposed to? Why would the Ellisons want to force Warner Brothers Discovery into an early sale? Because remember, they were giving all of these unsolicited bids for the whole company starting back in September, only to be turned down again and again and again, and then to lose again finally in December. I think losing was the point. What if their only goal was to force this spinoff to happen before April of 2026 so that they could buy the one piece that they wanted, CNN, before the primaries? 2026 is a huge election year. Like, this is not your normal midterms. These elections are going to determine whether or not there is any check on Trump's power for the next 3 years. We're talking elections for every House seat, a third of the Senate, dozens of governor races that are going to be controlling this redistricting for the next decade. And these primaries decide all of that. And the earliest primary starts March 3rd, which is Texas, Arkansas, and the North Carolina vote. And if you wait until Q3 to buy CNN, then by the time you get in there, restructure everything, clean house, then the media has probably already made the narratives and decisions for who's a joke, whose stories get oxygen, and who's gonna win. The media is the key to the king-making. Remember that. So if you buy CNN after the primaries, then you own a cable news network. But if you buy it in January or February before the primaries, you own the narrative. And now the Ellisons are threatening this hostile bid, supposedly furious about losing. But that one Pinnacle Media Venture company being filed on December 1st, I think tells a different story. They don't want all of Warner Brothers. This hostile bid, I think, is just leverage to force Discovery Global to spin off earlier. Move that Q3 timeline to Q1 and get CNN before the primaries. And everybody's focused on Netflix taking over Hollywood, and everyone thinks that Larry Ellison lost. But I don't think he's lost anything. I think he's right on schedule.
Isn't end stage capitalism fun? I'm having a good time, aren't you? I'm glad we're pushing back. I'm glad our voices are getting louder. These monopolies need to be broken up. And whether or not you're a Democrat or a Republican, we need to get these corporates out. And the bought and paid for politicians need to go on the left and the right, because they're not working for us.